Wednesday, December 16th, 2020, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to look at how in desperate times gold is the ultimate form of payment. People will not accept fiat money. And Alan Greenspan, the former chairman of the Federal Reserve, even said it, and I quote him, "Gold still represents the ultimate form of payments in the world. Fiat money in extremis is accepted by nobody. Gold is always accepted. In extremis means, of course, when all else fails in desperate times." And I just saw a story this morning on Zero Hedge, how Iran is using disguised tankers to export Venezuelan oil in gold for food barter. So why are they doing that? Well, because the United States is sanctioning both countries. They're not being able to use the international monetary system, the payment system, the US dollar. So they're not going to exchange bolivars for Iranian reals. I think that's their currency. They won't accept each other's currencies because it's no good to them, right? But gold is. So I'll put a link to that story below in the description. And whatever you might think of Iran or Venezuela, they need to survive as sovereign nations. So gold will work. It'll work every time. And yes, it's for sovereign nations. I haven't heard any stories about them using Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies to do this, but they're using gold. Yes, for individuals, it might be different. They might resort to Bitcoin or silver coins like this, like a florin from pre-1920 UK, or like a dollar, a Morgan dollar, which is just under 3/4 of an ounce of silver, of course. That's the real dollar. People will go to things that have value and things that are accepted all over the world. So there you go. Very interesting story. It's been happening before, of course. Turkey has been doing it as well with Iran, exchanging gold for commodities to try to survive, of course, because if you can't use the international SWIFT system for payment, what else are you going to do? Are you going to let the population of your country starve? Are you going to just stop living, right? So nothing about politics here. I'm just showing you the economic part of it. And if this were to happen worldwide, can you imagine the rush for gold? And I think we're getting close to that point. We're seeing the dollar continue to lose value. I saw yesterday that the Chinese continue to unload their treasuries. And it's getting very interesting right now. Before I look at the markets quickly this morning, I just wanted to talk about a man very few people talk about, but I think he's like someone more important than John Maynard Keynes. And I've spoken about this guy before, I think, in one of my videos a few years ago. And I had looked into him like over a decade ago when we used to chat at work in the city with a few, I chatted with a few colleagues who I got involved into gold. We looked at free markets. There weren't many of those around, of course. I had a small circle of friends, and we spoke about a guy called John James Cowperthwaite. And who is John James Cowperthwaite? Well, if you look at Wikipedia, his name is Sir John James Cowperthwaite. He was born in 1915. He died in 2006. He was a British civil servant, civil servant, and the financial secretary of Hong Kong from 1961 to 1971. His introduction of free market economic policies are widely credited with turning post-war Hong Kong into a thriving global financial center. So yes, interesting guy. He used the complete opposite policies that the mother country, so to speak, Britain, was using in the 60s. And actually, I received a book yesterday that I haven't started reading yet. I will start reading it soon. It's called The Architect of Prosperity, Sir John Cowperthwaite and the Making of Hong Kong by Neil Monnery. So there you go. There's the book. I'm looking forward to reading that. But there's a few interesting comments here in Wikipedia about his policy in Hong Kong. And let's see here. He refused to compile GDP statistics, arguing that such data was not useful to managing an economy and would lead to officials meddling in the economy. He was once asked what the key thing that poor countries could do to improve their growth. He replied, they should abolish the Office of National Statistics. It also says Cowperthwaite built on the economic policies of his predecessors, Arthur Clarke and Geoffrey Fallowes, promoting free trade, low taxation, budget surpluses, limited state intervention in the economy, a distrust of industrial planning, and sound money. It was a policy mix that drew more on Adam Smith and Gladstone than on Keynes and Attlee. Well, Keynes and Attlee is a bad mix, and we're still following that policy, not only here in the UK, but everywhere around the world, it seems now. However, Cowperthwaite was a pragmatic civil servant rather than a theoretician, and he based his policies on his experience, empirical data, and what he believed would work in practice. So there you go. I'm really looking forward to reading this book. It isn't a long book, but I think it's quite technical. It might take a while. And I've been reading another book that I just finished yesterday. It's called Tombland by C.J. Sansom. There you go. It's a great series of books that C.J. Sansom has written. This is the last one in the series, or maybe he'll do an eighth one. It's the seventh one. It's about Tudor England, and it is based on historical facts, but it also has a major character in it. Is a hunchback lawyer. He's also kind of a detective, Matthew Shardlake. In this book, it kind of reminds me of what's going on today. There was a peasant revolt throughout England in 1549. This story is based on the battle for Norwich. So Norfolk, the peasants in Norfolk revolted against the landlords because the landlords were abusing their power. They're using the common land to graze their sheep on it, and the peasants and the serfs, so to speak, they couldn't use the common land anymore, and they were being screwed economically, and they rose up against the landlords, and unfortunately they were crushed at the end after a couple of big battles, and reminded me of today. We, the general public, are being stopped from earning a living, just like the peasants were back then. So that could be a warning to Mr. Johnson, I would say. Yeah, I would look up C.J. Sansom. The series is great. It's 7 books. It's all to do with Tudor England. It takes place during Henry VIII's reign. This, of course, is 2 years after Henry VIII's reign, where things were kind of very volatile in Britain. So let's quickly look at the markets this morning. It's 7:30 a.m., so I'm a little earlier today. We saw gold break through that 1850 level yesterday. Right now, we're at 1856, up just over $2. high has been 1859, low 1850. Silver is up 32 cents, 1.3%. At 24.80, high has been 24.87, low 24.42. Dow futures down 26 points, S&P is down 1 point. So stock market's fairly quiet. The Nasdaq 100 futures unchanged. FTSE is up 1/3%. Sterling is unchanged at 134.66. Euro is firmer, up 1/8% at 121.67. So we're moving towards that 122 level. The dollar is continuing to drop here versus the yen. We're almost down to 103. We're down 0.2% at 103.44. Dollar is unchanged versus the yuan at 651.76. WTI crude is at 47.53, down 0.4%. The 10-year yield is down 1.5 basis point at 0.9%. Later today, I'll be talking with Rafi Farber from the End Game Investor. We're going to cover a lot the commodities market, M1, the national debt, the U.S. budget deficit, a lot of interesting things. He's got some interesting things to talk about. So the interview will be later on today. It will probably be uploaded and published on YouTube this evening, or even in mid-afternoon London time. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Parler, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.